Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to the wild card weekend of Fantasy 15, the official fantasy football podcast of Sauce on the Side. As always, Dippers, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the man, the producer, Mr. Leighton Pip Shabadone.
This whole week's a punt.
This whole week is a punt. That is probably the best intro you've had, probably the most accurate intro we've had all season. Guys, our goal for this week is we are going to go through, break down each position. Basically, we're going to almost roll through it guy by guy, price by price. I know that there is only 4 games to break down, so that only leads us for 8 teams to break down. So it's going to get pretty interesting here. I think that if you're listening to this podcast, just sitting there, and you have the opportunity to do so, I think it'd be pretty wise to, pull up your FanDuel list, pull up the pricings, kind of follow along as we read along, and we go through each position by price. So, Leighton C, let's win the Dippers some money this week. But before we do that, you got to drop the noise.
Fantasy 15, a Sauce on the Side production.
Alright, Dippers, so welcome back. We are going to start off like we do each week with quarterbacks. Leighton C. This week, we're going to have to get pretty creative here. I think that the goal for this week is find the guy. Each week, we always get our ass burnt by one guy, and it's a 30-point game by Zach Ertz. It's a 30-point game by Travis Kelce.
A 40-point game by Josh Allen.
A 40-point game by Josh Allen. Just ripped our teeth out last week. We have to find the guy that's going to go off this week. I think this is going to be pretty. Pretty chalky. I mean, it's the playoffs.
It has to be almost.
It has to be chalk. Like, it's the playoffs. We don't get the Dolphins playing the Bills. Like, we don't get any bad teams rolling out this weekend. We get the best of the best. So we have to go through this with a fine-tooth comb. And we'll start off quarterback. Our highest priced option by far, I wouldn't say by far, $200. Deshaun Watson. Then we go down to Lamar Jackson, Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, Mitch Trubisky, Phillip Rivers, Dak Prescott, and then Nick Foles brings up the rear. The odd thing about quarterbacks this week is that your highest price guy is $8,400. Your lowest price guy is $7,300. So there's really not much price difference there. I think that we have to find just the guy.
Yeah.
We have to find the guy that we're going to hitch our wagon to and just play basically across the board.
Yep. And that guy, in my opinion anyway, is going to be Andrew Luck. He's at Houston. I think if this game was at Indianapolis, he'd be like 8,700. But Andrew Luck, he's just been on fire the past month and a half. He looks like the number 1 pick overall, the fact that the quarterback that the Colts thought they got. The neck injury, week 2 of the season, he could get the ball to the end zone. Coach did that. That really gone. He looks great. Deshaun Watson, you like him, but are you going to pay $400 for Deshaun Watson or Andrew Luck? No.
No, I think that this week, and correct me if I'm wrong here, so I see Deshaun Watson. I see a guy who's in a pretty decent scenario here. I mean, he probably has, not even probably, he has the best wide receiver going out there this weekend suiting up. But if you look at his 2 games against Indy, his game at Indy was actually way more impressive than his game at home against Indianapolis. So basically, you're picking who's going to win this game. If you think that Houston's going to win this game, you need to go ahead and play Deshaun Watson. If you think that Indy's going to win this game, you play Andrew Luck. Because both these quarterbacks, in my opinion, are pretty similar plays this weekend. I just happen to like the Colts a lot more. I think the Colts are actually going to win this game, and they've been impressive on defense as of late. So I think that Andrew Luck is the play here, and the only guy that I might vary off and play a little bit of would be Mitch Trubisky playing Philadelphia, who, I talk about it time and time again, funnel defenses. Guys, Mitch Trubisky is playing against a defense that's 30th against the pass, 7th against the run. So it's a guy that's going to be in a scenario where the only thing that's going to be open will be the pass game. So I don't know about you, Andrew Luck, Mitch Trubisky, really the only 2 plays you have here.
Yeah.
Maybe even throw just one flyer lineup out there with Deshaun Watson, but you're going to be paying a little more.
Yeah, but I think Mitch Trubisky is I do think for the money, for everything, he's second best player overall. Actually, be a third best because Deshaun is second best. The third best is Trubisky, but it's $300 more. And 9 times out of 10, you're able to make $300 appear from somewhere, and you're able to get Andrew Luck.
Yeah, I do think that Andrew Luck is the play.
Like, I don't think there's been a time all season where we just lock the quarterback in. And I'm not going to do it now because just because of injury risk, but 9% of lineups has to be Andrew Luck.
Yeah, I think Andrew Luck has to be the play. Really, the only quarterback you can fall in love with on the slate. So no, what is it?
Does Lamar Jackson's price make sense to you having
Absolutely not.
2 20-point games in his 20 fantasy-point games in his career and coming off a 26-point effort last week against Cleveland, who is not a good defense?
No, it doesn't make any sense to me, honestly. Like, Lamar Jackson's pricing is really, really mismatched. Like, you're basically praying for a rushing touchdown at that point. And you look, almost every single one of these games outside of the Bears versus Philly, every game we have seen what these players have done against one another. Like, we've seen the Colts against the Texans twice this year, and we've seen both those quarterbacks have phenomenal games. We've seen Lamar Jackson against the Chargers. Lamar Jackson didn't have his best performance. He was fine, fine play, 16 points, but that's lower than what Andrew Luck or Deshaun Watson averaged in both of their games against the opposing team. And then you look at Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott. Like, they didn't have games that jump off the page at you necessarily, but that's kind of the similar situation that Lamar Jackson was in playing the Chargers, but yet he's priced even above Luck. So that makes me question a little bit more. I think that they're basically looking at it like, hey, this guy's a running back, so we're going to price him as a running back instead of a quarterback. So I think that's where the pricing comes from. But I'm not going to play him. I'm not going to touch him or Phillip Rivers.
In which case, he'd be the third most expensive running back on the board.
No, I agree. And if you look at this, would you trust, like, if you're looking at it, Phillip Rivers or Lamar Jackson, which would you play?
Man. Whew.
I mean, the Baltimore defense did not look that great last week playing against the Browns. I know that they had the 3 interceptions, but, like, in a game like now where Phillip Rivers obviously has better weapons, he's an obvious better quarterback, like, you have to like that more than what you got out of Baker last week. And those were rookie mistakes. Like, those 3 interceptions were just, that's what you get whenever you have a rookie.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it's a weird week for quarterback. I think you just roll Andrew Luck.
Yeah, just play Andrew Luck. Anything we just said about Lamar Jackson, Phillip Rivers, ignore that. Andrew Luck's the guy.
Yeah, Andrew Luck has to be the guy, and I expect him to be really high on this weekend. And then we'll go ahead and get to running backs. So you have 2 that stand way above the rest. You have Ezekiel Elliott, Melvin Gordon. We'll kind of just go off of those 2. Do you like either of these guys in their matchups?
No. However, you have to play Ezekiel Elliott.
Yes, you do.
He's the only guy out there who is a lock for 15 points.
Yes.
I think 15 points is not going to be one out of the 800 running back, but he's the only one that's a lock. And you go on the list, Melvin Gordon at Baltimore. Don't like that matchup. Jordan Howard, you're going to get the carries. So the running defense is tough. Chris Carson, don't love it. Gus Edwards gave up Kaz Dixon last week. How far are you going to go down until you find a guy you can say with 100% confidence, okay, that's 15 points, that's 20 points.
Yeah, I agree. But the way I look at it, is that Chris Carson and Ezekiel Elliott are in very similar situations. Like, they're both guys who've basically been playing with a hot hand. You look at Chris Carson coming in 4 straight games over 90 yards and 3 straight games of over 100 yards, and he's had a touchdown in every single one of those performances. So you have to like it. You have to almost love it, because if you, at the end of the day, he's going to have similar production as Zeke, but he's $1,300 cheaper.
Yeah, like I said, you do have to love it, but you love it for what you have in front of you.
Yes.
Yes, I love that play for this week, but every other week on the board, it's when you write off.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is going to be the week where you play guys that you don't necessarily want to play. And
You're going to hit your lineup.
No, you're going
to look at it, ooh, man, this is ugly, But
everybody else has dealt with the same cards. So hear me out on this. I think if you want to have the safe lineup that's going to, maybe win you a cash game, Ezekiel Elliott's probably going to be in your lineup. But if you're looking to win the big money, and correct me if I'm wrong, do you think that the top 10% of lineups will not have Ezekiel Elliott?
There is potential to, yes, because Ezekiel Elliott's ceiling isn't that high, but his floor is just so safe.
Yes.
So it's the potential a guy could Chris Carson and Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack goes off for 17, 20 points. Chris Carson, the same thing, and boom, you got it.
Yeah, I'm basically going to roll it down to this. You either have to play Ezekiel Elliott or DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep, I agree.
And I think you can't play them together because then you run out of the money, especially whenever you don't have you don't have a ton of flyer guys out there. So I think that you're backed up against the wall there. For the Bears, a big point has been you got to play Jordan Howard or you got to play Tariq Cohen if you play any. Which would you prefer for a week like this?
In a week like this, I prefer Tariq Cohen just because I love his skill set. I love what he's done all season. But looking at the weather in Chicago, it's going to be cold. Jordan Howard's the past 3-4 games been getting 19, 21 carries. He didn't get the rock. So how much do you trust the offensive line with Kyle Long to come back off the IR to push around that really, really good Philadelphia defensive line? So I'm going to lean Tariq Cohen.
Yeah, I'm leaning Tariq Cohen here too. I know that Howard's going to probably fall into the end zone once. The Bears are going to be leading this game. But, you rewind to just a week ago, the Bears got the ball at the goal line, and, they had already fed the ball to Jordan Howard. Jordan Howard had put up numbers. What did they do? They gave the ball to Tariq Cohen, and he scored the touchdown. So I think that there is value there in Tariq Cohen. I think there's more value there with him than Howard. But I think the safer play is Howard. But if you're wanting to win the big money, you got to have a 70-yard Tariq Cohen screen pass and score, which I think that's what they're going to do. We've seen it time and time again with the Bears. Whenever they can't get things rolling through on the ground, they use their pass game as basically an extension of the run, and Tariq Cohen is going to be the biggest factor in that kind of offense. So I do actually like Tariq Cohen here in kind of a weird matchup. Gus Edwards and Kenneth Dixon. Do you think that there's enough value there to play both? Because I'm not going to basically play Russian roulette at who's going to score the touchdowns.
I don't like Russian roulette. Can't do it. After last week, when Gus Edwards was the money play and Kenneth Dixon just basically matched touches and outscored him, I can't touch that right now.
Okay, and then after we get down past Tariq Cohen, past Kenneth Dixon, you run into guys like 6,400 and below, and I'm kind of doing to treat them as their own. Where's the play down there? Do you see any value basically bottom feeding in this?
So, you're going to play Andrew Luck $8,000. You're going to play Ezekiel Elliott. Lamar Miller 6,400. He is a starting running back. He does give up carries, but in the past 4 games, he's had 19, 14, 3, he got hit that game, and 17 carries. So he's getting the touches. It's can he find the space against a, very, very good Colts front 7. Will he? I don't know. But with 6,400, you're almost dumb not to play him.
Yeah. One of the few flyers that I really like here, I like 2 guys, and they're oddly priced at $5,500 apiece. And my guy that I'm looking at against the Bears defense is Darren Sproles. And the reason why I like Darren Sproles is because if you look at, since he's returned and basically been a factor in the offense after his injury, in games that they trail, he's actually had his most success. So, like, they had the Rams game, they kind of stomped on it early, ran away to victory. They had the Washington game, basically same exact thing. But you look at that Houston game that's kind of factored in there in the middle. He had 6 targets and 9 carries because he's the most explosive guy on the field. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and basically run the clock to death. He's looking for the end zone every single time. And I think that this is going to be a game that the Eagles actually trail in, and they're going to be playing a lot of catch-up ball. And the Bears secondary is really, really stout, and they don't give up a lot over their heads. They don't give up the big play. The only way they give up the big play is if the ball's thrown in front of them and they're forced to have open field tackles, which Darren Sproles just happens to be one of the best guys in NFL history at avoiding open field tackles. So I think Darren Sproles has a lot of value there. I mean, I do think that he's going to have 60 yards in this game, potentially more. I think 50 is right around his floor in this game, just because I think that they're going to have to use him in the passing attack a ton. And if he finds the end zone, you've got value. You've exceeded value with this play. And I think that as far as running backs go, Lamar Miller, he's a starting running back at 64. But if you have to play cheap, I think Darren Sproles is the answer.
Give me the guy because Josh Allen, Smallwood, Clement, they're not going to run the football.
No,
got-
and Clement's even out, which makes me love. Clement went on the IR, I believe,
He did.
3 games ago. So that's whenever Darren Sproles kind of took over that spot. You have to love it. You have to love it at 5,500.
Yeah. I mean, don't love it, but I like it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in a spot like this, you have to go with the solidified veteran who's the best at catching the ball in the backfield. So we'll go ahead and go to wide receiver. And basically, you summed it up. You have DeAndre Hopkins, $1,100 of space, and then T.Y. Hilton, Keenan Allen, Alshon Jeffrey in a potential revenge game, Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett, and then those are your guys that are rated above 7,000. And then you kind of run into a crapshoot. So at the high-priced options, we're running into this spot: Ezekiel Elliott or DeAndre Hopkins. You make the call.
I am going to go with...
This is tough. This is probably the toughest week.
I'm going to have to go with Ezekiel Elliott just because T.Y. Hilton is going to eat this week. And it's just so much easier to punt on a receiver than on a running back. Not easier, it's safer too.
Yes.
So I will lean Elliott. That being said, you have to have him and Hopkins in your lineups. You can't defer from that.
Yeah, and you look at a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, 5 straight games of over 10 targets or more, 90 yards in all but one matchup, and that one matchup happened to come against the Colts. So you have to buy into that a little bit. I think I'm going to buy into it a lot more than most people. I think that DeAndre Hopkins, he's coming in with his hot hand. We've seen the stats. The guy's had 11 games of 10 or more targets. 0 dropped passes. So, if the ball's going his way and it's an accurate throw, he's going to bring it down. But I think Leighton C's onto something here. I would rather have an Ezekiel Elliott who's guaranteeing me 20 carries, 5 or 6 targets. I think that the carries may fluctuate a little bit, and I think the targets are definitely going to be there. I would lean Ezekiel Elliott over DeAndre Hopkins just because it's a lot safer way to get there. Now, Keenan Allen, going against a stout Baltimore defense, we've seen Keenan Allen have great games. We've seen him have very mediocre games. Actually had one of his worst games this season against the Baltimore Ravens. Are you playing him?
Take some time for the future here. Take all the charges and just throw it out the window.
Yes.
Not touching them. Do not want to, after what we saw in Los Angeles, I did it right. I said San Diego.
Yeah, you
First time in my
that's
life.
the first time in your life I think you've gotten that right.
What we saw in Los Angeles was just a rout. Now we have the Chargers going across the country. Couldn't be much farther away to Baltimore in the cold against the second or third defense in all football. Cannot play a Charger.
No.
Will not play a Charger.
I'm not gonna play a Raven.
I also find out play a Raven. You're right. No Raven. The whole game, wipe it out. This is why this is a punt.
Yeah.
Because you have one whole game you can't play anybody. Then you have the Eagles and the Bears where you have a few guys, but 9% you can't play. And then you have the Cowboys and Seahawks. 2 good defenses again.
Yeah, I think just to really quick, just kind of freshen this up, I think that a lot of Colts and Texans, that's your most value.
Yep.
You have your
For
most
sure.
value in that game as far as just like big plays that are going to score you a ton of points. Seattle and Philly, or the Seattle game against Dallas and then Philly versus the Bears, I look at those very similar to where you pick your spots and you're going to have really, really good return. Maybe not so much the highest priced guys outside of Ezekiel Elliott, but you're going to have a lot of value there. And 2 guys that I'm kind of looking at, Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett. Mm-hmm. One of these guys are going to pop. Which one do you trust more?
So, if you look just at opportunity, it's Doug Baldwin 100%. And Doug Baldwin has played better. But just from, in my opinion, a talent standpoint, it's Tyler Lockett. And I feel like every time Tyler gets the ball, something amazing happens.
Yes.
He doesn't get the ball very much, though. So, really, it's a gut pick. But I'm going to go with Tyler Lockett. One, because $200 in this 1 week goes a long way. That's almost playing any compared to Mitch. And I think Lockett's a better player.
Yeah, I agree. And, you rewind back to whenever he played Dallas. It was a much different Dallas team, but he was able to get 6 targets He turned that into 16 fantasy points with 77 yards and a score. So I do think Leighton is onto something there. The only thing that scares me is that, in games like this, we see a guy like Russell Wilson who's been there, done that, he's played in these games before, kind of go back to old reliable. Mm-hmm. So that scares the hell out of me. I think if you put my back against the wall, I'm playing Baldwin.
I can't argue against that. Like, you can't make an argument either way. You can only try to persuade somebody. You can't argue against them.
Yeah, you look at the Chiefs game. That was looked at as like a must-win game for Seattle. Like, hey, we win this game, we're in the playoffs. He got 12 targets. Mm-hmm. That was his season-high targets. So I think that Tyler Lockett is a better player. I think he has the higher potential to have that 70-yard touchdown dagger to basically seal your day. But I think Doug Baldwin, in my opinion, that's where you go back to old reliable and you trust him more than anybody else, especially for where he lines up on the field and they kind of get creative and he gets in the slot and he can make some magic happen there. So I'm almost leaning towards Baldwin in that spot. So real quick, any wide receivers that you like that are priced below $7,000 that we did not touch?
I like Amari Cooper. He hasn't had that. He's had 3 straight horrible games since he was 44 points that one game. But opportunities there. Allen Robinson, opportunities there. Aguilar, wipe him out. Gallup is interesting to me. Because I feel like the time I watched Dak throw a ball is always to Gallup.
Yes.
Like, I never seen him throw a ball at Cooper for a touchdown.
Yes.
It's always to Gallup. Gallup gets, 7, 9, 4, 6, 5 targets games. $5,700, that's a lot of good value there. I'm probably going to have Gallup. Kiki Cootie, his breakout game against the Colts, we got 16 points, 100 yards, but he might not play. And then Cole Beasley. Below that, don't want it.
Yeah, I mean, I like Dontrell Inman. I think Dontrell
Inman, yeah, I didn't think Dontrell Inman.
He's in a good spot. If you look at what he's done, what have you done for me recently? He's only had 11 targets over the last 2 games. But he's parlayed that into 28 fantasy points. So you have to kind of like that. I think for a bottom feeder, I kind of hinted at it earlier. I like 2 guys at the $5,500 price. One was Sproles, one was Inman. I think both of those are going to find their way into my lineup. And then at $6,500, I have a guy in Allen Robinson who I actually really like in this set. I talked about it earlier being a funnel game for Mitch. And it's not one of those funnel games for Mitch where he's going to have to pass the ball and it's going to get cute. Like, you pass the ball to your best receiver, and it just happens to be Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, he's coming in with good target numbers. 8, 7, 8, and 9. So the targets are there. If Mitch connects for that one deep dagger that Allen Robinson can go up and get, which against the Philly secondary, there's a very good chance that he's able to reel one of those balls in for a score. So I think Allen Robinson is going to be one of my cheaper plays here. Him and Dontrell Inman, you put those both into a lineup, you're only spending $12,000 on 2 wide receivers combined. You have to like that. You have to like it, and I think that will find its way into my lineup. So Leighton C, let's go ahead and head to tight end. Tight end is the biggest crapshoot of the season. We have basically Zach Ertz, $1,000, and then Eric Ebron, and the rest of the Eric Ebron, Trey Burton, and then in my opinion, you get out of the kind of good tight ends and you basically are just playing in mud unless you think Hunter Henry is going to have some value being on a pitch count. Mm-hmm. What do you like at tight end?
Eric Ebron.
Eric Ebron?
Yep, that's it. Because Zach Ertz, good couple of games, but he's playing, I lied. He had one good game with Nick Foles. That game was terrible. He's playing Chicago. Eric Ebron is just the guy. Trey Burton, you want a touchdown? Mark Andrews, how you trust that? Ben Jarwin, whatever his name is, Blake Jarwin. Just having a 3 touchdowns last week.
The only thing that scares me about Eric Ebron is that I'm in love with T.Y. and I'm in love with Dontrell Inman. Like, how many of these guys can I really love for luck to find the ball to? And so I think I prefer just riding in on T.Y. I think Eric Ebron will be the number 1 tight end when all's said and done. But if I'm looking at a guy, like, just from a talent level alone, Hunter Henry's sitting there at $4,900. He's as cheap as they come, and he might be the most talented, probably second most talented guy on this list.
He's a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, and he's going to be on a freaking pitch count. So if you think about it in this scenario, their coaching staff is very, very smart. Like, they're the coaching staff is the reason why this team is 12-4. Like, And you think about how they're going to utilize his pitch count. If you're going to put Hunter Henry on the field and he's just coming off of an ACL injury that happened this season, he's not going to be out there as a freaking decoy. He's going to be out there to make plays. You're not going to roll a guy out there and risk injury to use him as a decoy. He's going to be out there to make plays, and I think that if he gets out there for 20 snaps, he's going to be out there for passing downs only, and really the only downs that are going to count for a tight end in this slot. Like, if the tight end's the first or second read on a route, who do you think they're going to have out there, Antonio Gates or Hunter Henry?
I want to say Hunter Henry.
You would almost imagine, because Antonio Gates at this point, he's a 5 yards and in guy, and he's a catch the ball and fall down. And I think that Hunter Henry is in that weird scenario where, you know how earlier in the season we talked about Jack Doyle, like the differences between Jack Doyle and how like the one guy's 20 to 20 and then the other guy's 20 yards and in. And I think that's where they're going to be with Hunter Henry and Antonio Gates. So you're kind of just relying on Hunter Henry to get yards. Yeah. And I think in the spot where he's 4,900, I think he's going to get catches and I think he's going to get yards and 20 count pitch snap or whatever.
Yeah,
he's going to see 6 targets. I think he's going to see 6 targets if they're going to roll him out there and they think that he's going to be healthy. But I mean, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, I do like Trey Burton. I like his talent. I like the fact that secondary in Philadelphia
revenge game
is terrible. It's a revenge game.
Revenge, guys.
It's a revenge game.
Alshon Jeffrey, play Trey Burton. We have revenge games.
Yep.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Nagy, if they get up early, I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Nagy didn't let him run the ball in. They've used him as an option quarterback before.
Okay, well, I'm not going to go that far with it, but
scrap everything I've said. He's going to score a rushing touchdown.
I do like Trey Burton. I do.
And if this game gets out of hand for the Bears and they're winning this game, I could see Trey Burton taking a snap at quarterback.
Okay.
I can.
Well,
I can. He's done it once. He's done it before this season. You know how I say I have to see it to believe it? It's happened, Leighton. And I could see in the red zone them getting a little cute and just saying, all right, Trey Burton, do your thing. So I think that this, I don't know. Tight end's a crapshoot.
It's always a crapshoot.
I'm not going to play Ertz.
No. Ertz is off the board.
Ertz is off my board. I think Ebron, if you're not playing T.Y. and Inman, both in the same lineup, and then Trey Burton, if you can't afford Ebron, I think he's a fine play. And then after that, if Hunter Henry's a go, I'm going to play Hunter Henry. All right, Leighton, see, defenses. You basically have the Bears, and then the Cowboys, 400 down from that. I'm going to stay away from the Cowboys. I'm going to stay away from the Ravens. I'm going to stay away from the Texans. I'm going to stay away from the Chargers. I'm going to stay away from the Seahawks. I'm going to definitely stay away from the Eagles. But you think that there is value in the Colts. Tell me why.
I think that the value in the Colts, because of 3,700, and just look at the past 2 games against the Texans, they got 5 points and 8 points, which, is that going to win you a league? No, probably not. But it's going to allow you $1,800 more than the Bears to find players to do that, unless the Colts do get 8 points. Are you ever going to bitch? Can you even get you 8 points? You're probably not going to. So in this slate, I'm going to look at 3 defenses. The Bears, I'm going to figure it out. The Colts, and the Eagles. I don't love the Eagles, but Chicago's offense, we know, has gone silent at times. Mitch hasn't looked that great in the cold weather. So the Eagles all play, granted, a very risky one.
Yeah, I think that the smartest play here, though, it has to be the Bears.
Well, the smartest play is the Bears. And FanDuel knows that.
Yeah, and FanDuel priced it like that. And, you know, you look at a guy like Nick Foles. Yes, he's been phenomenal. Yes, he's played in big games. But he's coming in 3 straight games with an interception. He's had a fumble in 2 of his last 3. He's had a fumble in every single game that he's played this season except for the Rams. So a guy who's had a turnover in every game this year against a defense that has basically gotten themselves to this point of the season by forcing turnovers, I think that the Bears are the smartest play. I think they're in one of those weird scenarios where you have to play them. Because if they get 20 points this week, we're going to be sitting there out of the money.
Yeah. That's a great point. It's kind of like we made that point about tight ends. Like, Travis Kelce scored 30 points, or Zach Ertz scored 30 points. If you didn't have that guy in the position where you only have one, you all out of the money.
This is I cannot stress it to you guys enough. This is such a crapshoot of a week, and it's not even funny.
Yeah, like Drake's about to read you the lineup of the week. I'm excited to hear it. I'm excited to hear the confidence he has in it.
There's no confidence. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and read you the lineup. So the lineup that I have, Latency, you spot the lie here. Andrew Luck, quarterback.
Yep, that's
Has
it.
to be your play. Running back, the only elite running back that has even a halfway favorable matchup is Ezekiel Elliott. So you have to be on Ezekiel Elliott in this spot. And then my running back, the only other running back I'm going to play right here is going to be Darren Sproles. And I feel so weird saying that. And it's I'm playing him against the Bears, guys. So like, if you guys are new listeners, I am a Bears fan. I am so high on this Bears defense, but in a game where they're going to have to manufacture ways to get the ball down the field, Darren Sproles is going to be the guy that they can kind of lean on to kind of catch those checkdowns whenever nobody else is open. And the Bears are not that great of a tackling team when guys get the ball in space. So by default, Darren Sproles is the play. And then at wide receiver, I'm going to go ahead and go straight off the top. I'm going to Andrew Luck's best target, favorite target, T.Y. Hilton. He's going to have a phenomenal game. Playing in the Dome, I know he's banged up, I know he's hurt, but he's still a game changer. And if he gets behind the secondary, he's gone. Then my second guy, old reliable, Doug Baldwin. Going with Doug Baldwin. I know it's not the greatest matchup, but nobody has a great matchup. So you have to like that play there. Then I'm going Allen Robinson for 6,500 against Philly's secondary. The secondary is the hole. Allen Robinson is the best wide receiver on the Bears. They're not going to get... I don't think that it's going to be a game where they get too cute early. I do think that if the Bears are able to get up and get a lead, they may get cute with a Trey Burton play. But Doug Baldwin Allen Robinson has to be the wide receiver that you're leaning on for the Bears this weekend. Tight end, I'm going to Hunter Henry. And I'm saying that knowing that he may play 20 snaps because he will catch the ball. They will find ways to get him the ball if he is able to play. And then I'm in on Dontrell Inman. I think that Andrew Luck's going to have a great game. I think that he's going to be able to keep more than one wide receiver alive. Therefore, Dontrell Inman is my play. And then I'm bringing it back with the Bears defense. Guys, we do not want to be on one of those weird weeks where a guy scores 30 and we are on the outside looking in whenever everybody else has 8 to 10. And the Bears defense is the only defense that I see that has potential to get that 20 burger and, basically win you a week just based off of defenses. Latency, what'd you think of the lineup?
I like it. The Hunter Henry thing scares me, but, just check into it later on in the week close to the game time. This is a late swap, so you can change it up to noon Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Sunday.
Yes, and if
the backup plan in that case would be Antonio Gates, who is the exact same price, but will probably have Hunter Henry's value.
Yes, I agree there. I mean, you can easily flip it to Gates, or you could easily go straight from Trey Burton and then knock down Doug Baldwin to Michael Gallup, who Leighton does like as a play this weekend. Guys, this is a crapshoot. I cannot stress that enough. So, Latency, anything that people should be basing their lineups about, any little tips of the trade for this weekend?
So, since it is just one giant crapshoot week, since you will be playing 2-3 guys from the same team, you're going to play tournaments. This will be the first week since probably October that I'm playing tournaments. And I'm going to be playing probably more tournament lineups than actual cast lineups, just because I'm going to have lineups that have 3 Colton. I'm going to have lineups that have Elliott and Cooper in them. So to get that value, you gotta play in tournaments. If you're playing cash, you're gonna get burnt.
Yeah, I agree. And this is just a little pro tip from playing games where you get your ass burnt on the second day, or if you're way behind on the first day. If you look like there's a chance that you can't get into the money unless you have a huge explosion from a guy, play a risky guy on the second day, because you can change these lineups until that game kicks. So if you're sitting on the outside looking in and you see that, oh shit, I'm in a bad spot and I have T.Y. Hilton going tomorrow, well, it looks like 80% of everybody else has T.Y. Hilton tomorrow, go ahead and punt on the money and go all the way down to a Dontrell Inman, because if T.Y. Hilton goes and he's sitting on the sidelines after the first series and he's hurt, You have Dontrell Inman, and you're going to be one of the only people out there with Dontrell Inman locked into a lineup, and you have a chance to come back. So that's my little tip. I know that I use that scenario, but they play on a Saturday game, so just use like a Bears game for instance.
Yeah.
But you get my point. If you look like you're out of the money, play dirty, hope for an injury, and move on with your life. Because you're going to be sitting there outside of the money anyways. You might as well play Russian roulette because your back's up against the wall instead of just punting and not winning any money. Latency, anything else before we wrap this show up?
This is also the only time ever where chalk is a good thing to have in tournaments because everybody's going to have the chalk because there's 4 games.
Yes, there are 4 games.
Yeah.
There are 4 games.
Bet the under in Baltimore, San Diego. Staying at Los Angeles.
He can't take it out of him. And on that note, for Drake, for Latency, Dippers, as always, stay saucy.